improve.
Now this is control.
Floating.
KATU's Weather on the Hour is brought to you by Teplic Laser Surgery Centers. Your vision for the future.
From ABC News in Washington. This week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts, featuring George Will, and our roundtable with George Stephanopoulos and Bill Kristol.
This week, Hillary Clinton answers the question of whether she's really going to run for the Senate.
So the answer is yes, I intend to run.
And her husband backs her up.
But I'm excited for her, and if I can help her in any way, I will.
But is this high-profile campaign already in trouble? We'll ask the top Senate campaign strategists, Democrat Robert Torricelli and Republican Mitch McConnell.
And this week, cyber shopping. More than 1 billion people hit the internet worldwide and revolutionized holiday shopping as we know it. But will consumers be satisfied? We'll talk to two internet pioneers, Steve Case of America Online and Jeff Bezos of Amazon.com.
Also this week, she was President Bush's most trusted advisor on Soviet relations. And now she advises his son. Meet Condoleezza Rice, the primary foreign policy advisor to candidate Bush, in her first Sunday morning interview.
Hillary Clinton campaign, shopping online. Bush's top foreign policy advisor, all here this Sunday morning.
Welcome to our program. Well, Mrs. Clinton says she's going to run. In fact, she's dropped the word exploratory from her official committee. But she hasn't made it official yet. That's going to come later. However, Cokie, I suppose she's not turning back now. She has crossed the Hudson.
Well, we will talk about that and see if that's the case. Of course, her likely opponent has not announced either, Rudy Giuliani. And we'll be talking to the heads of the Senate campaign committees. Robert Torricelli of New Jersey, a Democrat, here with us in the studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, joining us from Louisville. Thanks for being here, Senator McConnell.
Good morning, Cokie.
Joining us in the question, as always, George Will. Senator Torricelli, you talked to Hillary Clinton last night. Is she definitely in, really in?
I don't think there's really been any doubt for some time Hillary Clinton was going to run for the Senate from New York. This is a woman at an early stage of life with enormous talent who wants to make a further contribution. For all the successes of this administration in balancing the budget, restoring economic growth in the country, there's so much that isn't done. For her to leave Washington at this stage of her life where there is no system of national daycare, the fight for quality education has only begun. There's minimal progress, I think, in getting access to health care. These are fights that she feels about passionately.
Why are so many Democrats still skeptical whether she will run and whether she should run, saying she's a weak candidate?
Well, because she's doing something that's never been done before. She is the First Lady of the United States and simultaneously attempting to run for public office. That has its difficulties. We have seen some of those difficulties. But she's doing it, and I think she's doing very well at it. The polls are remarkably close. She's probably raised now more money than anyone in the United States other than presidential candidates, and is very competitive.
Senator McConnell, you want to get in here?
Well, 53% of the people of New York last week said they hoped she wouldn't run. I'm glad she is running. Since the beginning of the year when this idea first began to be bandied about, she's consistently tracked downward in the polls. She was even in August. Now she's 7 points down. We welcome her candidacy.
Senator McConnell, your candidate has a problem, and that is that since 1974, 25 years, no Republican has won statewide in New York without the Conservative Party endorsement. The Conservative Party says he must refuse for the first time to take the Liberal endorsement and must change his position to opposition now on partial birth abortion. Is he going to do that?
I would doubt that the mayor would begin to change positions on issues that he's had a long-standing position on, George, but all of the New York political situation will have to sort itself out. As you indicated, it's very different in New York. You have the Liberal Party line, the Conservative Party line, and I gather there may be some others. We hope that the mayor will be able to ultimately pick up the Conservative Party line because it will add a lot of votes to his total.
Senator Torricelli, how much money is Hillary going to need to win? How much is she going to spend? And is that going to handicap raising money for other Senate candidates?
Well, I assume this is a $15 or $20 million Senate campaign. It could be the most expensive in the nation. It indeed could cost more than that. Not only do I think that it does not hurt other Senate candidates around the country, I think it helps them because it has reinvigorated focus in many of these issues of daycare and education and health care. And indeed, I think is partially responsible for many women running for the Senate around the country. The idea that it is time for women to be competitive for many of these races. I do think, George, that Mr. McConnell makes the good point. You know, we watch New York politics from New Jersey like we watch the Yankees and the Mets. We follow them closely. People need to remember these are not two-way races in New York. There's a conservative line and there is a liberal line. This is a three-way race. Rudy Giuliani, having endorsed late-term abortions, is not going to get the Conservative Party line. And on the choice issue, which is paramount in New York politics, he's a man without a home. He will never have the conservative line because he supports late-term abortions. And yet pro-choice activists will never trust him because at different points of his life, before he ran for public office, he was anti-Roe v. Wade and was against abortion rights. And they certainly don't want him in the United States Senate choosing Supreme Court justices that could take away abortion rights. So he's a man in a very difficult posture.
Senator McConnell, I'm going to ask both senators this question, and I'm going to have you lead off, however. Mrs. Clinton's First Lady, and she's now running for the Senate for New York. How does she divorce one from the other? How does she become just the Senate candidate? What would be your advice to her, and do you think she can be successful in making that division?
Well, it is a difficult problem, Sam. Certainly from the security people need to be comforted that, that she has the same kind of security she has as First Lady would normally have under other circumstances.
Well, may I just stop you
we don't have an argument with that. We don't think, however, the government ought to be underwriting trips back and forth to New York in government planes. It seems to me that's entirely inappropriate.
Well, Senator, I'm not trying to cut you off. Let me stop you right there. One of the problems when she has all the security is she's like the big butter and egg man from the East coming through, and voters say, well, who is that swell? And she ties up traffic. She doesn't want to do that if she's a candidate of all the people. So how do you make that division?
Well, it's not going to be helpful to her because it makes people quite angry, as you indicated, and my guess is the more of this apparatus she carries around with her, the more votes she's going to lose.
Senator Torricelli, it's your turn now. How does she make the division successfully?
At this point, she just does it. I mean, she's drawn a line now. Her responsibilities as First Lady will continue, but they are diminishing compared with her Senate responsibilities. She moves to New York, and she begins the day-to-day process of running. And let me say, because reference was made to these polls, our polls show her 4 to 6 points behind. The New York Times has her 5 points behind. The Republicans are now into their 6th advertisement they are running against her in upstate New York. Considering this transition and the advertising against her, she's doing very, very well. She is now in New York City 25 points ahead of Rudy Giuliani and only 15 points behind upstate. That's why Rudy Giuliani is running these ads upstate. If he remains this far behind in upstate New York, he cannot win this race.
But she makes a separation. I mean, she referred the other day to my house in the suburbs, not our house. And she just becomes the candidate Clinton and not the First Lady, and frankly, not the woman who lives here at the White House.
Well, I think that's begun. She is now candidate Clinton. I don't think anyone in this foolish debate about the president's residence can expect the president of the United States to move out of the White House because Hillary Clinton is now running in New York. It comes later. But at the moment, she's going to be in that house soon and a full-time candidate.
One more question on Hillary Clinton, and then I want to ask you both about presidential politics. But should President Clinton be campaigning for her?
Of course he should. This is his wife. This is a person he cares about.
But is it good for her to have him campaigning for her?
Unquestionably, yes. For whatever difficulties there have been in the Clinton administration, and there's no need to recount them here, it's been done at length in previous occasions, America is in an extraordinary period in our history. These economic circumstances have never been visited upon this nation before. It is not by chance that no political party has ever lost a national campaign with anything close to these economic circumstances. If he can convince the people of New York that indeed she's going to help
Senator,
continue that performance, it's to her benefit.
It's hard for you. You're not right here. Come on in.
If I might, Cokie, it is noteworthy that both the Vice President and the First Lady are putting as much distance as they possibly can between themselves and the President. It's truly a curious development.
Now, Senator McConnell, let me ask you about a fellow member of the Senate who is running for president, Senator McCain. you've had your differences. Would you vote for him if he were the party nominee?
Look, John McCain's personality has been widely discussed by a lot of people. As you all know, I've had some very public differences with John. He was the leading advocate last year of a $600 billion tax increase, 60% of which would have been leveled on people making $30,000 and less. And he's also been the principal advocate of putting the government in charge of the political speech of individuals, groups, candidates, and parties.
Senator, I'm still
If John were the Republican let me finish, Cokie. If John were the Republican nominee for president, of course I would vote for it.
Has he ever blown up at you, Senator?
Look, I've already said John's personality has been an issue with a lot of people in Washington and in Arizona, but for me, it's been a policy difference. So big taxes and putting the government in charge of everybody's political speech, both of which I think are really terrible ideas.
Last word, Senator?
Well, let me just ask you one quick thing, though, on the Democratic side. You replaced Senator Bill Bradley from New Jersey. Is he your choice for the nomination?
I haven't endorsed either, and actually there's been no groundswell of people demanding that I endorse anybody. I haven't been asked by my own family. I haven't endorsed either. As chairman of the campaign committee, I don't think that's probably appropriate at the moment, but I do want to say a word about John McCain, if you permit me.
Please.
It would be foolish to deny that John McCain has a temper. Many of us...
Have you ever seen it?
I have. I have a temper. So does Bill Clinton have a temper. Many of us who feel passionately about things have tempers. That's different than what's going on here. There is an insidious campaign to suggest that there's something wrong with this individual. There's nothing wrong with him, there's something right with him. He cares about the country and he cares about issues. I didn't go to Vietnam, but I feel a special kinship with people in my generation who did. They were there in my place while I went to college and went on with my life. This idea that we hear from time to time about Vietnam veterans, as incidentally happened after the Second World War, where people suggest that there's something amiss with them, something from their experiences that has psychologically impacted them, isn't fair, it isn't right, and I don't usually go on national television to defend Republican candidates for the presidency, but in this case, it's the right thing to do.
In this case, I think many people will applaud you, Senator. Thanks for being with us. Senator McConnell, you too. And when we come back, it's shopping without having to worry about parking. But will the Internet revolutionize holiday shopping? I'll ask two Internet pioneers in a moment.
From ABC News, This Week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts. Brought to you by Merrill Lynch. There's a new way to work with Merrill Lynch, any way you want. And by GE. From aircraft engines to appliances, we bring good things to life.
I like to live big. I like big surprises, big dreams.
Introducing the innovative new GE Spectra.
Big, healthy babies.
It's so big, it holds a turkey, 2 casseroles, and 3 loaves of bread.
I like to entertain, big time.
Or 288 hors d'oeuvres, or 12 perfect pies.
I love having a whole house full of people.
GE Spectra, the biggest, most accurate oven in America. It cooks big inside and out.
Most of all, I like the big smiles that I get when I cook big.
Cook big with the incredible new GE Spectra.
Big.
Yeah, let me get this straight.
Yes.
Are you actually saying I don't have to pay you a separate commission every time I trade a stock? Exactly. I'd pay an annual fee instead. Right. Is anyone getting this?
We don't pay you a commission every time we trade. What's your motivation?
It's just like always, in your best interest.
Could you just explain it again?
Maybe what it is the fee is based on the value of our portfolio. So when we succeed, they succeed.
Well, you'll have to be patient with us. This is all very new.
When I got diabetes, I was afraid.
Diabetes is a major contributor to adult blindness, kidney disease, and limb amputation. New medicines have helped patients take control of their disease where previously the disease was controlling them.
Diabetes haven't slowed me down one bit.
I see hope. I see even better medicines for the future.
Well, how many of you are planning to shop online this Christmas? The experts say twice as many people will shop by computer this year as compared to last. Consumers could spend up to $9 billion, maybe more. And the first-time Internet shopper spends an average of $150. We're joined by two cyberspace giants. Here in our studio, Steve Case of America Online, and from Seattle, Washington, Jeff Bezos of Amazon.com. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being with us.
Great to be here.
Well, what do you expect? Let's just talk about the holiday season.
Steve Case, what's your forecast?
I think it's going to be incredible. Last year, people were kind of trying it out, just wondering if they clicked and would the package actually arrive, and they found that it did arrive. So this year, I think more and more people are going to do more and more of their shopping online. It's so much more convenient because you have almost unlimited selection, all these merchants to pick from. It's as easy as clicking once, and the packages arrive, and they can even be gift wrapped. So I think the convenience is going to make this the year that shopping really comes of age on the internet.
Jeff Bezos, Steve Case says that, you click and the package arrives, but am I not correct? You almost lost it last year because you had more people come on than you expected.
That's true. Every Christmas holiday season that we've had, we've been under pressure to deliver. We've always done it. So we have a tradition of fulfilling customer expectations, and we're not going to let customers down this year either. Already we're seeing order rates more than 2.5 times what we saw last year at the same time. And we're handling that very well. We're more prepared than we've ever been, and we're really excited.
Well, Mr. Bezos, everyone associates you with books. You started out with books, and one of your problems appears to be people still think all you do is books, and you do what, everything else?
Well, that is one of our challenges, to make sure that people know that while we still sell books, and that's still a very important part of our business and something we're focused on, we're also selling toys and electronics. PC Magazine just named us the editor's choice for the best place to buy toys online this holiday season. So yes, that's one of the challenges we have, to make sure people know that we're selling video games and software and music and et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Case, how many subscribers do you have? 20 million?
About 20 million.
Now, you charge for this.
Well, we charge for our AOL membership, but the shopping services are available free. We also have an AOL.com website that's available to everybody, so you don't have to be an AOL member to take advantage of our AOL Mall.
Well, I make the point because several months ago, people were saying, well, wait a moment, all of these people who are now giving free access to the internet will put AOL eventually out of business. And you had a little problem in Britain. But you think you're over that hump? You think people will pay the money? And if they're paying the money to you, rather than going on with someone else free, what do you give them?
Oh, we give them a great value. AOL really is different and better than typical internet service providers, which is why we've gone from 1 million members 5 years ago to now about 20 million members, and we're really expanding around the globe. We're really trying to provide an on-ramp to the internet and a whole lot more, so it's really easy to use and useful and fun and affordable. And we're really trying to change the way people get information and change the way they communicate, as well as change the way they buy products and services. And we're only now scratching the surface in terms of the potential of this new medium. I mean, Christmas will see that people really will start using this in a much more fundamental way. And over the next 5 years, I think it's going to be incredible.
Do you think that at some point you put all the malls out of business, all the old stores out of business, we'd buy everything on the internet?
No. I think the internet is going to be a very important part of our lives, more important, I think, than people really imagine right now. But if you look back over the last century and look at the innovations that drove the century, the telephone, the car, the television, things like that, they didn't really put anything out of business, but they certainly changed our lives in very significant ways. I think the same is true with the internet. And we're now at a very magical point where the internet's big enough to matter. We're talking about it here on This Week, but still young enough and small enough to be shaped. And we want to make sure we shape it in a positive way so it really has a positive impact in people's lives and on society.
Jeff Bezos of Amazon.com, take a crack at that, because I think some booksellers believe that you have put them out of business.
No, I agree with Steve. You know, this is going to be very important and a bigger deal than people think. But people are going to keep shopping in the physical world, too. The physical world is a wonderful medium, and it's not going to go away. 72 million people, though, it's estimated, are going to shop online this holiday season, and it's so that they can avoid the crowds and so on. One of the things that needs to be focused on online, something Amazon.com is always focused on, is making it easy to use. So that's what I think. You know, most of our customers are not computer experts. They're regular people, and that's why so many people are coming online, because of that ease of use.
But now you have a lot of competition. You've expanded on all this rapid growth, but there are so many other startup companies that are in there now trying to sell things that you're selling. How do you try to handle the competition? Because they also say, hey, it's easy.
Well, the only way is to be better. And so for 4.5 years, we've been developing an expertise to make it as easy as possible. We have things like one-click shopping. We have things like gift click, gift wrap, to make everything at the holiday season just as easy as possible. Good search and browse tools that novices can use. So that's really what it's all about, making the experience end-to-end, building distribution centers so that we can control that experience and get gifts to people on time, having 24/7 customer service. These are things that Amazon.com can provide that many of our competitors can't.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk business, beginning with Steve Case of AOL. You've only been in business, what, 5 years, 4 years?
Oh, we've been in business about 15 years. We're kind of the
old-timers
of the internet.
All right, but you've split your stock how many times?
I think we've split it 7 times in 7 years.
All right, you have a market capitalization now of, I just looked it up this morning, $186.4 billion. That's more than the gross domestic product of such countries as Austria, Chile, and Sweden. Where does it end? You have 2.2 billion shares. Is this realistic?
Well, it really depends on what happens. My guess is with this, the internet's really going to become a part of everyday life, and it's not going to be something that people use when they happen to be home, when they happen to be in their den, when they happen to be using their personal computer. But you're going to carry around devices, you're going to have a television device, you're going to have wireless networks, broadband networks, and this internet capability is just going to be embedded in your everyday life, and it is going to fundamentally change how you get information, how you communicate with people, how you buy products, how you learn, how you get entertained. And we're still in the early stages of the development of that medium. So we think we actually have an opportunity. There's by no means any guarantees in life. We have an opportunity to someday maybe even be the most valuable company, maybe the most respected company in the world because of the fact
in the world,
because we think the internet really is still just at the early stages, and AOL we think is very well positioned.
Bill Gates, eat your heart out. Now, Jeff Bezos, Amazon.com stock has just been amazing. It just keeps going up and up and up. And yet I saw a figure the other day which suggested that this year you'll lose $550 million. Am I right? And if so, how do you justify the stock price?
Well, you are right that we're a famously unprofitable company, and that is a conscious strategy and a conscious decision on our part. We think this is a critical category formation time, that this is day one, all these new customers coming online, and we're investing very heavily in customer experience, distribution centers, customer service centers, making things as easy to use for people as possible. And that's where all that investment dollars is going.
So investors are saying, we think down the line he's going to make us a lot of money. Right now, it's a big loss.
That's right. That's right. This is a bet on the future. We're focused on the long term. In the long term, the interests of customers and shareholders are always aligned.
Last question for Steve Case. Yesterday we learned from President Clinton he's on the internet, he's going to use this, he's going to learn it. Is he a subscriber? And if so, do you charge him the $19.95 a month, or is it free?
I hope he's a subscriber, but I can't tell you whether he is or not, because obviously we protect the privacy of all 20 million of our members. But I think it is nice to see that the president is getting online and doing shopping online. Every year I see a little video running of him running down to the mall to get something. The fact that this year he'll be doing at least some of that clicking and shopping, I think, shows that the internet really is coming of age, and this really is something that more and more people are using more and more habitually.
Well, good luck to him, because 4 years ago, Dick Morris, one of his trusted advisors, told us he couldn't type. But you don't have to type to be able to hunt and peck online.
It's getting easier and easier.
Thanks very much to both of you for being with us, and I hope you'll both come back.
Thank you.
Steve Case of AOL and Jeff Bezos of Amazon.com. And coming up, Cokie will interview the woman behind George W. Bush's foreign policy, Condoleezza Rice, in a moment.
These days you hear a lot about e-commerce, and usually it's about companies with names that end in .com. Actually, e-commerce is for any company that wants a better way to do business, like respond faster to the market, or work better with partners and customers. At Microsoft, we've helped thousands of companies build on their existing systems to create the kinds of e-commerce solutions that can make any business run smarter.
Yeah, it was amazing. Whole different world. You were a volunteer? Yeah. I saw a world that wasn't so fortunate. They needed help. In business, I see a world full of opportunity. To help me take advantage of those opportunities, I invest in international funds with T. Rowe Price. I chose them because they work with analysts all over the world. See, I know what a difference being there can actually make.
T. Rowe Price, helping people invest with confidence for over 60 years.
See the world run. Run, world, run. Run. See Texaco run. Visualize, hypothesize, explore, and relentlessly search and find the energy the world needs to run. Run, world, run. Texaco, a world of energy.
Every moment, every dream, every challenge, for every step you take in life, there's GE, a financial partner you can trust. Take advantage of our expertise in insurance and investments and get the innovation you've come to expect. So think of GE when you think of insurance and investments for every step you take.
Is that Mitch? Must be Tuesday.
They met every Tuesday.
So I made a list of subjects for you to talk about. Love, marriage, family.
All the things you're scared of.
But what they learned lasted a lifetime.
I'm going to get to you one of these days, boy.
Jack Lemmon, Hank Azaria.
I love you, Coach.
Tuesdays with Maury, ABC next Sunday, 9/8 Central.
Good Morning America's going back to high school. Catching up with teachers, meeting old friends. Sure, you know them now, but what were they like then? Who would dare revisit those awkward years? Good Morning America. So don't be late for class this week.
This Thursday, George W. Bush will debate his Republican rivals for the first time on a New Hampshire stage. One of the people prepping him in foreign affairs is Condoleezza Rice. Although her name is not a familiar one to most people, she's playing a major role behind the scenes of the Bush campaign. After flunking a pop quiz on international leaders, Bush came under immense scrutiny when he delivered his first major foreign policy speech. Bush's theme of rejecting isolationism and embracing internationalism has a Rice ring to it, clearly reflecting the influence of his key foreign policy advisor, Condoleezza Rice. This isn't the first Bush she's advised. Rice was one of President Bush's most trusted advisors on Soviet relations and was on the Camp David lawn during the Bush-Gorbachev summit in 1990.
Please join me in welcoming Dr. Condoleezza Rice.
And she addressed the Republican convention in 1992.
And we will celebrate George Bush's historic role in ending the Cold War.
Although she identifies with the Republican Party, ironically, it's current Secretary of State Madeleine Albright's father, Joseph Corbell, who played a major role in Rice's outlook on Eastern Europe. She studied under him at the University of Denver before going on to pursue a successful academic career at Stanford University, where she's been number 2. And now joining us from Palo Alto, California, is Condoleezza Rice. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Rice.
Good morning.
It's very early there, so I appreciate it especially.
That's okay.
Well, I think the first thing everybody wants to know is how's your pupil doing? He had a little problem with the pop quiz. He was quoted as asking you if women and children were still being killed in Chechnya. Is he ready for prime time here?
Well, first of all, this is not a pupil. Governor Bush is very much driving this train. He asked me about women and children in a little joke. One thing that I've learned about the governor, he has quite a sense of humor, and so you have to be ready for that. I was really impressed with the degree to which Governor Bush came to these issues with very strong instincts about what he wanted to do with America's role in the world. Indeed, when we talked all the way back in August of 1998, when he was still doing kind of due diligence about whether to run for the presidency, he had very strong views about what America's role should be in the world, and we spent a lot of time talking philosophically about that first, then moving on to discuss the key issues facing the United States in the post-Cold War era. And the last several months have really been policy development, a process that's not unlike the one that I was familiar with in the White House, where the governor sets a clear direction, and then we go out and we give him options as to what he might do. But he's very much driving this train.
On Chechnya, as long as I want to go through some of those areas that you and he have been talking about, but because we've talked about Chechnya briefly, should Russia be punished?
Well, I think the international community has to speak out against what is really a quite brutal campaign against innocent women and children in Chechnya. No one denies that Chechnya is a part of the Russian Federation, but I think the Russians have gone beyond the pale, and I think that the international community can only speak out, and I also agree that international financial assistance needs to be at risk.
And what are the consequences of that?
Well, I think that the consequences could be quite dire for the Russian economy. We could see a Russian economy that does not recover to the degree that it should. But Russia has to understand that there's a link between its international behavior and the kind of state that it wants to be. I fully believe that most Russians want to join the international community of states, or that most Russians want to be a part of the 21st century, not the 20th, where Russian and Soviet imperialism dominated. And so I think it's in Russia's interest also to stop this heavy-handed campaign in Chechnya.
Now, we talked earlier in that little piece that your first exposure to Russia and to things Soviet were from Madeleine Albright's father. How would you be a different Secretary of State from the one that she has been?
Oh, my goodness. So Madeleine Albright and I are very good friends, and I doubt very much that I would be Secretary of State, but I think that the Secretary of State's role very much depends on how the President designs it. And so I think the question to ask is, what would the President want and desire of a Secretary of State? I think with President Bush, President George Bush Sr., he set very clear direction, and I believe that Jim Baker was excellent at carrying that out. President Reagan had very clear ideological views about what he wanted to do with the Soviet Union, and my good friend George Shultz was really brilliant at both negotiating and at being a spokesperson for American foreign policy.
And
so the role of the Secretary of State really depends on the President.
And in terms of this president, how would it really be different? How would this foreign policy, and listening to his speech and his appearances since then, his foreign policy seems to an observer to be more like Clinton foreign policy than it is like the Republican Congress's foreign policy. Are his differences when he talks about isolationism, when he talks about Taiwan, are his differences more with the Republican Congress than with this administration?
No, absolutely not. I think that Governor Bush has really found a ground, we called it the distinctive American internationalism, that is most appropriate to this period of time. It is one that will be very much based on free trade, and one difference is that I think Governor Bush will pursue free trade in a more aggressive fashion. For instance, insisting on fast track. President Clinton had an opportunity to get fast track authority, and he didn't spend the political capital to get it. I think that the military has declined significantly in this administration. We have a military that was handed to the Clinton administration in terrific shape after the Reagan and Bush years. And now we see civilian pay grades 15% above military pay grades. But it's no wonder we can't recruit anyone.
But would he, for instance...
So there are very important differences.
Would he, for instance, on Taiwan, get rid of the vagueness in the Taiwan Defense Act and say we must defend Taiwan?
Well, he has said that we must help Taiwan to defend itself, and I think that that is all that need be said. There is no doubt that the administration tilted very clearly toward Beijing. That has made Taiwan nervous. I think that much of the turmoil in the Taiwanese relationship with China has been due to that tilt.
But there are those in the Republican Party who are asking for a specific statement along those lines. Is that wise?
Well, I think that the specific statement that we will help Taiwan to defend itself and that Beijing should not, under any circumstances, contemplate the use of force is a pretty powerful statement. It's also a very powerful statement that we should respect, as should Beijing, the democratic development of Taiwan. After all, Taiwan is a $40 billion a year investor in the PRC. This is not a small territory that should be dealt with as if it's some sort of vassal. And I think Governor Bush has tried to make that very clear.
Ms. Rice, when we were talking yesterday, you said you're sitting there at Stanford looking toward the east, and that he's sitting in Austin with a similar sort of looking south. Is this a new concept of foreign policy?
I definitely think that those of us who are not in Washington, with all due respect to Washington, have a somewhat different view. The high-tech revolution, the new economy that has been driven in places like Palo Alto and like Austin, gives you a very different view of foreign policy. You see, as foreigners come here, as people come here from other countries and ask, how can we build a Silicon Valley? You see that it's low taxation, it's the absence of regulation, it is the importance of immigration that is really driving the creativity that has made this economy roar. It is not what is happening in Washington, and that can't help but have an effect on your foreign policy views.
We're out of time here, but those are also some issues that where he will be driving some distinctions with other members of the Republican Party.
Well, conceivably, but I think the most important thing is that he's going to lay out, and has laid out, a vision for American foreign policy that Americans will resonate with, and I think he will bring a new bipartisan center to American foreign policy here at the end of the 20th century.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for being with us. I hope that we have a chance to talk again soon.
I certainly hope so.
Thank you. When we come back, we'll talk to AFL-CIO President John Sweeney, the lead opponent of the World Trade Organization, which is gathering this week in Seattle, and our roundtable with ABC News analyst Bill Kristol and George Stephanopoulos.
It seems that the first rule of business today is to be an e-business. The second rule is to work with a company who pioneered the direct way of using the internet as a business tool. Dell built their business around this direct model, which made them a forerunner in e-business. They provided the equipment we needed to use the internet to establish one-to-one relationships with our customers. With Dell's help, we're breaking down the walls between our ideas and reality.
Be direct. Dell. Dell workstations use Intel Pentium 3 processors.
So instead of paying a separate commission every time you trade, you'd pay an annual fee, trade all you want.
All I want?
Yeah, virtually unlimited.
Oh, really?
Remember the financial plan we're working from here, Dad. The point is long-term capital appreciation.
I know.
You just don't want you sitting by the computer all day buying, selling stocks.
Yeah. Show me how I log on to your research.
Oh, that's easy. Yeah. Investing is serious business, Dad.
I promise I'll do my homework, okay?
This week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts will continue in a moment after this from our ABC stations.
They walk amongst us, free men, but at one time they were all suspected of bloody hate crimes. Now Connie Chung confronts the faces of the Old South, 2020 Monday.
When you're ready for a change, check out the 2000 Alero by Oldsmobile. Right now, you can lease the Alero GX for as low as $239 a month and get great offers on every other Oldsmobile at your local Oldsmobile dealer. Start something.
When you purchase a certified used vehicle from Russ Humberston Automotive, you'll be getting one that has been subjected to the highest standard in factory mandated testing. Russ Humberston Automotive is ranked in the top 10 nationally in certified used vehicle sales, service, and parts. For Saturn, Toyota, Chevrolet, and quality used vehicles, your only choice is Russ Humberston Automotive. Now it's easy to find the car you want. Log on to KETU's AutoNet for quality used cars. Go directly to KETU.com and discover KETU AutoNet. The final countdown. Are you ready? Tonight at 6.
Joining us now from Seattle, Washington, AFL-CIO President John Sweeney. Welcome, Mr. Sweeney.
Hi, Sam.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, the World Trade Organization meets there on Tuesday, and of course, President Clinton now endorses China's entry into the WTO. He says that would be part of his positive legacy. And Vice President Gore says that's good news. You disagree?
Yes, I disagree. I really feel very strongly that trade has to work for working families as well as business.
And you don't think it works that way? And you don't think China's entry will produce all of the good things for American consumers?
No, I think that the Chinese should have to agree to rules that protect workers and protect the environment, and that's what this is all about.
Mr. Sweeney, your organization, much at your urging, endorsed Al Gore, and he is part of this administration, which is very keen to have China in the WTO. What do you do about it?
Well, I think that Al Gore will make a great president. I believe that the unions that have endorsed Al Gore are proud of that endorsement. And Al Gore is committed to making sure that the core labor standards and environmental protections are a part of our trade agreements when he's president.
But you've been quoted saying, of course he's got a problem. We've all got a problem. What do you do about your problem?
Well, we have to continue to raise this issue, and this is a historic negotiation, and I think that the focus that's been put on workers and their issues and the environment are here to stay, and we're going to see them being addressed at the WTO.
Mr. Sweeney, was it a mistake, do you think, now in retrospect, to push the early endorsement of Vice President Gore? You could have done it later on and then had perhaps a little leverage on him.
The campaign has started, and it was important for us to be involved and for our members to be expressing their choice and getting involved in the campaign. And I think that we have to continue to work aggressively, hold candidates accountable on the issues that workers are concerned about.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Sweeney. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And now our roundtable with Bill Kristol, George Stephanopoulos. Welcome. So, what about it? How tough is this for Al Gore to have? It's not just labor that's out there. It's environmentalists. It's human rights people. It's key Democratic constituencies.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily tough for Al Gore. I think it was tough for John Sweeney. He is getting a lot of pressure inside labor for doing the endorsement too soon. But these protesters are fighting for an important point. They're saying that globalization hasn't been all good. We have had rising inequality. And they're saying that if we're going to have rules, they have to protect everyone, not just corporate interests. And I think in the long run, that ends up helping Democratic candidates like Al Gore who fight for it.
Well, it's not as if the other side gives them much more. If George W. Bush turns out to be the nominee, he is a globalist also, for NAFTA, for China's entry in the WTO. So organized labor can't say, well, we don't like Gore, we're going to go with what, Bush?
Or Bradley, for that matter. So it's Pat Buchanan or nothing?
In a way, I mean, the strength of corporate interests in both parties is really striking. I'm not sure we've seen this in our lifetime. Democrats used to be the party of labor, and Republicans used to at least fight against Wall Street. The Goldwater Reagan wing of the party disliked big business. Now you basically have the four leading candidates for president are all totally comfortable with the corporate agenda.
This is an important point. Look at this year's Congress. What did they get? Glass-Steagall reform, Y2K liability. Right. What didn't they get? Minimum wage increase, HMO reform. Big business got what it wanted, and they blocked what they didn't want.
Is that what we're seeing here?
I think so. Mr. Torselli, who was with us a little earlier, has said he plans to raise $65 million for the campaign committee over the next 2 years. He's going to get a lot of that from business. Furthermore, the unspoken interest group here is the American farmers, who have an enormous amount to gain from opening markets under this.
But American farmers are done.
No, but the American Sam is an American farmer.
In the business section of the New York Times today, there's a wonderful article. It starts with the question, is farming dead? And the answer, of course, as far as anything other than large corporate holdings, is yes.
Well, but this, actually, China coming into the WTO under these circumstances is very good news for farmers, because they, right now, all they can export to China is wheat. And this opens up the rest of the market. And they have now come together, I think it's something like 70 different farm groups come together to work for this. But, you know, the other group that we haven't talked about is the American consumer. I mean, hello, you just finished an interview in terms of e-commerce. Most of the stuff you're ordering online was made someplace else, and you're getting it at much cheaper prices than you'd be getting it otherwise.
Sometimes because it was made with the help of slave labor or child labor, and a lot of what these people are fighting for is saying those are unfair subsidies, and it's wrong.
Except for that it's also true that the export market from this country is one of the healthiest parts of our economy.
That's an interesting point. If we had to make a choice, which choice do we make? Cheaper products or helping children not be enslaved and making these products? I think it's one of those things that most Americans say, oh, no, we don't want children enslaved, yet they still buy the cheaper products.
Although you have seen, on college campuses all across the country right now, you have movements against different things made by sweatshops. And I think you are seeing, at least among the younger generation, more socially responsible.
If you know they exist. But this has been a key part of President Clinton's foreign policy, and he also took a big trip this past week to highlight other parts of his foreign policy with meetings all around. It was an interesting trip, Bill.
Well, it was. He semi-apologized to the Greeks for our quasi-support of the military junta.
Nobody supported them.
Right. Well, but we didn't. Sure did. We didn't stop them from taking over, I suppose, in '67. And he urged the Kosovars he said they couldn't forget what happened to them, but that they should forgive, which I do think is actually rather odd. Why should they forgive people who...
Oh, well, and raped them? To end the cycle.
That is not true. That is not true. President Clinton is perfectly within his rights and would have done the right thing if he had urged them not to exact vengeance, if he had urged them to look to the future and to work to build a democratic and free country there.
I wouldn't worry about it. It's not likely to happen.
No, but to say not to forgive is deeply revealing about Clinton, I think.
He's following the Christian Bible. I mean, you can disagree with the Christian Bible if you choose, but
in this instance, I do. No, it is not.
George? Well, the unpleasantness over Kosovo was an Orthodox Slav population, the Serbs, brutalizing an extraordinary degree a small Muslim state of Kosovo. That's exactly what is happening today with Chechnya.
Right.
And the limits of our humanitarian foreign policy have been reached, it seems, because it was a kind of kabuki dance where the president and Mr. Yeltsin had their disagreement. But so far, the really painful response, which you talked about with Condoleezza Rice, has not been forthcoming.
The Clinton doctrine is we will intervene to save lives in such a situation if we can. Clearly, we thought we could do that in Kosovo, but we're not going to Chechnya.
Well, and with NATO.
But also, I mean, and the president was right to stand up to Yeltsin in the Istanbul meeting. And I think in this whole trip, you saw a very sophisticated and subtle president. What did he do in Turkey? Who did he meet with? He met with a human rights activist. He didn't meet with the military. Consistently, he's been a voice for change, and he was certainly right to say that we were wrong to support the junta in Greece.
The military in Turkey is one of the most progressive institutions there.
Wait, wait a second. They are not progressive. They have also been agents of repression against journalists, against people.
Kurds?
Absolutely.
Not the Kurds.
But in terms of the internals of Turkish politics, it's one of the most progressive institutions. I must say my personal favorite, though, was the president saying that he was going to ask Prime Minister Blair to return the Elgin or Elgin, you can get an argument going, marbles. These are the statues from the Acropolis that were taken to the British Museum hundreds of years ago and have been better preserved than they have statues that stayed on the
They should go back to Greece.
You think he lost his marbles in saying
Oh, Sam. Oh, on that note, we'll go away and come back with more of our roundtable.
What do you got there? I've got freshly squeezed lemonade. Or what about coffee? My Latin American supplier just got me some amazing beans. Or if you prefer tea, I have Earl Grey, Darjeeling, and Lapsang Souchong. Thanks to my connection in Kuala Lumpur. Want a biscotti with that? I get them fresh every week from a guy in Tuscany.
The painter Degas often lit his subjects with a glow from a window. Renoir used dappled sunshine. Toulouse-Lautrec, the flicker of gas lamps. But when leading museums need to light a Degas, a Renoir, or a Lautrec, they choose revolutionary GE halogen bulbs. These bulbs make any room look its best, whether it's home to a Renoir or something equally priceless.
Just a thought, that's what Einstein said. Just a view of the future, 2 paces ahead. Think about me, think about you, all the good things a little good thinking can do. Just a world, rolling through space, down gravity's highway into your embrace. And I'm thinking about me, thinking about you, all the good things a little good thinking can do.
At Invesco, we know that the financial world isn't always as it seems. The big economic picture can always change quickly. And to manage a fund, Invesco knows you need to be on top of the changing picture and know how it might affect you right at home. To learn more about aggressive growth opportunities with the Invesco Endeavor Fund, call your financial advisor or Invesco. You should know what Invesco knows.
ABC puts on its Sunday best. First,
Well, you're asking me to kidnap your daughter.
a dangerous case can have deadly consequences.
I completely screwed up.
Snoops, then.
The man is on his deathbed.
To save her client's life, a lawyer must risk another's.
If I cross-examine him tough, I'll kill him.
All new Practice, right after Snoops. ABC tonight, 9/8 Central.
In 33 days, celebrate with the world and log on and play Toyota's Road to the Millennium for a chance to win a trip to ABC's Millennium Celebration in New York.
Pity the poor TV viewer in New Hampshire these days, where politics is all they get a chance to see. Just to give you an idea of the onslaught of political ads, we watched our Manchester affiliate's newscast on Friday night, just one newscast, and counted the number of candidates' commercials. Take a look.
This is New Hampshire's WMUR News 9 at 6.
As president, I will give states and local school districts more authority.
And I have a plan to make it happen.
I knew the people were on my side.
I will do everything in my power to make you proud of your government.
Medicaid is a safety net that 40 million Americans rely on.
He is Steve Forbes.
I want my child to look at the White House and to be proud of what he or she sees.
He's neither compassionate nor conservative. It's just plain more government.
Every child must be educated because there are no second-rate children and no second-rate dreams.
Poor Burger King can't get an ad in edgewise. Well, that's pretty remarkable, don't you think?
I think it's wonderful. So far, except for just a little touching from Steve Forbes on George W. Bush, these were not negative ads. These are all saying, you know, Medicaid, I love this. I warrant before the cock crows 3 times.
Well, on February 1st.
Late January, you're going to see them slicing at each other.
Well, you're already seeing a little bit of it, especially on the Democratic side. The big issue in both sides' ads is health care. And the Gore people are banking on if they beat Bradley's big idea, the whole candidacy will crumble. If you saw Gore's ad, he doesn't talk about Bradley, he says, we can't eliminate Medicare.
Gore is doing exactly what he did with some effectiveness in '96 against the Republicans, and that is fear. Democrats hate abolishing anything other than the Defense Department, and they are absolutely petrified when they says he's going to abolish Medicaid.
Thank goodness.
Well, fear does work, though. We have seen it, and certainly on Medicare, Social Security, it's worked over and over and over again.
Yeah, it certainly worked for Democrats against Republicans. I'm not sure that you can persuade Democratic voters that Bill Bradley is going to slash and burn government programs, though. And I think these ads may stay positive. I also think what we saw there is what professionals call clutter. You know, so many ads that people basically tune them out. And I do think that in this race, more than in most, free media, that is to say, the debates, the actual news shows, people's performance, not in scripted commercials, will matter more in New Hampshire. You know, John McCain is now dead even in the latest poll.
Yes, and then Time Magazine has him ahead.
Yeah, ahead by 2 or 3 points within the margin of error. And that's based on almost no paid advertising. They just went up in the air in New Hampshire in the last week, which suggests to me that I think paid advertising this cycle may be less important than
George Will uses something you say about the fear, and Al Gore does use fear. Remember 1988? It was Al Gore, when he was running in the primaries for president, who found Willie Horton. And he used Willie Horton against Dukakis long before Floyd Brown used Willie Horton against Dukakis in the fall.
That's right, but I think Bill's actually got a point on these debates. You know, we have the first big Republican debate coming up this week, Thursday, and it made me think of 1980. When Ronald Reagan broke format of the New Hampshire debate and took away the microphone and said, I paid for this microphone, Mr. Green. One of Bush's...
Got the name wrong, but hey, he won the moment.
But I think one of George W. Bush's opponents is going to have to break the format in this debate this week, because it's a very structured format. They won't be able to make any points and make any headway unless they break the rules.
Do you think this debate will make a big difference? Everybody's been waiting for George W. Bush to get in a debate.
Well, he certainly calibrated the expectations right. I mean, no one expects a lot of George W. Bush, so I think he'll do perfectly adequately, as he did last Sunday on television, as he did in his foreign policy speech. And then it seems to me, look, McCain may very well win New Hampshire. I've just been in South Carolina. Finally, someone took a poll down there. That's supposed to be the next big jumping place for McCain. And Bush is ahead by something like 45 points.
62-15, I think.
Do remember Big Mo can occur.
Absolutely.
If McCain wins New Hampshire by a decisive amount, I think the folks in South Carolina may factor that in.
Particularly if Steve Forbes does a little bit better than expected in Iowa. He is going to spend the money in Iowa. He is organized. He is drawing crowds right now. If Bush has a weak win in Iowa and then gets beat in New Hampshire,
I'll bet he wins by 30 points in South Carolina anyway.
I think that's right. George has just been there with the family, and I was there with Bush a couple of weeks ago, and people loved him there and love his mama. And his daddy's okay, too.
But she's not running.
But he's a fine boy from a fine family.
The Right to Life movement is very strong in South Carolina, and they are dead set against McCain because of the issue advertising restrictions that he would and others of his ilk would like to put on.
They also saved George Bush's father.
That's right, in South Carolina.
But this is the big tactical issue in the Republican race. I mean, Bush is betting on a firewall. He can lose New Hampshire, but maintain that 40-point lead he now has in South Carolina. The McCain bet is the opposite. Momentum. Media wave, comes out of New Hampshire with a victory, the polls change. Gary Hart won New Hampshire, beat Mondale. The polls changed nationally by 20 points in the next week. And that's the McCain theory. We'll see if it's true, but I don't think it's ridiculous. These 62-15 is the current South Carolina poll. If McCain won New Hampshire, it would be about 45-30 the next day.
It depends on Bush making some gaffe, some big mistake, blowing up, doing something, and I agree with George Will. I don't think George W. Bush will do that. I think in the debate he will keep his cool, and therefore people will say he's all right.
And he's also added up a lot in other debates.
That's right. That's what I was about to
mistake.
say. I mean, that's what's so smart, is that for a while there, it was waiting for a January debate. Then it would have had tremendous import attached to it. Now it's a debate this week, a debate next week, a debate
all
week
before Christmas, when everybody's going away.
When we're all online shopping, and Sam and I will be doing that, and we'll be back in a moment.
So will Bill Clinton.
John was brilliant. John knew everything. John wrote that consolidated contract and didn't even tell us where he put it.
Now they're really consumed with grief.
If only they knew John scanned all of his documents into the Xerox Document Center.
You don't think John scanned the contract into the
Xerox Document Center?
The Xerox Document Center, do you? John was smart, but he wasn't that smart. I don't think John liked that.
Keep the conversation going. Share the knowledge. The Digital Document Company, Xerox.
They're hanging out on Hoyt Street in Brooklyn. They're killing time on the banks of the Mississippi. They're looking for something to do in the hollows of West Virginia. They're sitting right there in front of you on a stoop in your own hometown. They're the kids the future of the world depends on. But they need safe places to play, help with their schoolwork, or just somebody to look up to. That's why GE employees and retirees pledge to volunteer 1 million hours a year of their own time by the year 2000. A pledge that was surpassed a year ahead of schedule. So whether we find them in the alleys of the inner cities or the back lots of forgotten towns, one thing's for certain. Their future is in our hands, just as the world's future is in theirs.
AT&T, 7 cents a minute, all day, every day.
Take one of these. That'll be 25 cents.
But it says here it's a nickel.
Not for a couple of hours.
What?
Well, see, sometimes it's a nickel, but right now, it's a quarter.
It's like that long-distance nickel plan where they say it's a nickel.
Sometimes they charge you 25.
That's right.
That's where we got the idea.
Is that right?
7 cents a minute, all day, every day, even to Canada with our international plan.
You know, there are some stores that sell candy for one low price all day long.
And people like it?
Oh, they love it.
Call 1-800-41-RATE to enroll.
So what will happen to all this now that you're going virtual?
We're not going virtual.
I read you're getting into internet trading, online cash management.
Well, we are, yes.
The end of an era.
Not at all. Online trading and the rest of it are simply new tools we're making available.
You don't have to sugarcoat it for me, but I must tell you, I'm going to miss our little chats.
Nelson, I'm not going away. The office isn't going away.
The coffee? The ticker?
Not going away.
What about the little bull?
Not going away.
Good.
Because we need to fantasize about things that we really want. Maybe because your head wants to. Because our mind is like a puzzle. If you didn't dream, you'd just sleep and you wouldn't think of anything. But your super ego and your ego at night when they rest a little, dreams. Oh.
Now, here's a look at what's coming up on ABC News.
Tomorrow on Good Morning America, looking for a rush? Are you a thrill seeker? How about a mid-air dogfight or daring to be like James Bond? Vacations you'll never forget. Then on World News Tonight, a cancer drug designed for women showed dramatic improvements for men. And the Surgeon General on suicide prevention and other mental health issues. You ask the questions, Sam Donaldson will get the answers on Sam Donaldson at abcnews.com.
Sam, the Surgeon General tomorrow. That'd be
Dr. David
interesting.
Thatcher, he's a fine man, and he's not only going to talk about the suicide prevention issues, but AIDS, which is decreasing somewhat in this country, but worldwide the explosion continues. Watch 12:30 Eastern
12:30
Time.
Eastern Time. You can be part of that broadcast, right?
Absolutely.
On samdonaldson.com. Well, for us here, that's all for this Sunday. Until next week, that's This Week.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC.